Boogie Down Productions, Criminal Minded. Never heard it. I've never been a huge fan of this strain of hip hop, this very political, militant version of hip hop. And not just hip hop, any type of music that does this. Because a lot of the time they value the message over the music and they forget to make a good song. Not saying that that's what KRS-One does all the time, but this strain of music has never really been that interesting to me. Also, this type of music really lends itself to conspiracy theories, and I don't have a really high tolerance for that type of stuff, because while they can be fun sometimes, they can also be really detrimental. There are people that I think do it well, people like Ice Cube, Run the Jewels, The Coup. And then there are the rappers that kind of split the difference, rappers like, say, Razzcast or Royce da 5'9", that divide the difference between just spitting and the little more political stuff. While I have listened to his later projects, I never came back to this one. So the album starts out with poetry. The mixing is a little weird on it. The scratches on the song are a little louder than the vocals on it. On the song, KRS-One does something that he does a lot throughout the album, where he keeps mentioning that he's not a battle MC, which doesn't seem true. The poetry on Rattling is really not for battling. But this definitely sounds like a battle song, and KRS-One has been known to have rhymes already written for rappers that he didn't even know, just in case he had to battle them at some point. So he's known for battling MCs. Another thing that he does continually, which is very weird, he'll say something like really violent, and then the next line he'll say something that's completely the opposite. For instance, on the last line of the last verse, he said, "I'd rather point a pistol at your head and try to burst it." And then he goes into the chorus, and the chorus is, "I'm teaching poetry." The violence that goes throughout the album has always been really weird to me, especially considering I know KRS-One more in the later years. And by later years, I mean like, early 90s. He was a guy that's known for battling and maybe even fist fight you, but shooting, it just never seemed like his personality. It's weird to think that KRS-One is one of the founders of gangster rap, but he really is. And this album is one of those things that solidify that. It always seemed baffling to me that KRS-One would go down this road because nothing about his past really seems very gangster. And on top of that, like, gangster rap wasn't like a huge thing when this album came out. You had Schoolie D with PSK, you had Ice-T with 6 in the Morning, but there wasn't a whole lot, so it wasn't like he was jumping on a bandwagon. It just never really gelled to me why he chose to go this route. I mean, his name Chris comes from the fact that he hung out with the Hare Krishna, and there's not a lot gangster about the Hare Krishna. I mean, clearly there were dueling ideas inside of him, and he felt that this was the best way to express it, but it just, I don't know, it just never felt authentic to me. And also Scott LaRock, who's on the cover next to him, by all accounts, Scott LaRock was a really nice guy. I mean, he met KRS-One when he was a social worker. He died a few years later because he was defending his friend. He was trying to stop a fight. He was the guy that was coming to be the peacemaker, and he ended up dying. This never felt like this was who they were. The second song on the album is South Bronx. I don't think hip hop would be what it is today if it wasn't for this rivalry. If KRS-One had misheard a lyric from Shan, who knows what would happen. The second verse, specifically where it talks about the history of hip hop, is amazing and definitely deserves to be listened to. I'm not sure if the song really needed to be 5 minutes though. Next we have My 9mm Goes Bang. In this song, KRS-One plays a drug dealer who kills another group of drug dealers, and you get to hear what his 9mm sounds like. Next we have A Word From Our Sponsor, which was the B-side of The Bridge Is Over. I personally like this version of KRS-One a lot more, where he's just the blast master and he's just rapping. This feels a lot more him. Next we have Elementary. This is another song where KRS-One says, "I don't battle with raps, I battle with guns." This song has my favorite line in it. He says, "We have arrived for the purpose of enjoyment. You have arrived to make up for unemployment." All in all, this is another battle rap track where he's talking about not being a battle rapper. Next we have Dope Beat, which gives me big Run DMC vibes, which is ironic because on the third verse of the song, KRS-One actually mentions that he's not Run DMC. This song samples AC/DC's Back in Black, a song that was actually sampled by the Beastie Boys, which was produced by Rick Rubin. So there's your 7 degrees of separation. Next we have the remix for The P Is Free, which is basically a clean version of The P Is Free. You know what the P stands for. The original version is just a beatbox version where he's actually doing more cursing than what's on here. It's a very weird song that's about a woman that's trading sex for crack. It's like a much darker version of Lottie Dottie. The Bridge Is Over, classic record. The piano sounds incredibly amateur, but kind of in a good way. Next we have Super Ho. Now around this time in hip hop, a lot of rappers had songs about their DJs, saying that their DJs are the best, they can cut up anything, whatever. This song is a little different. This song is about his DJ being a ladies man, or a super ho. And on this track, Karis once said some really questionable stuff about his friend. The super ho is loose in the area, making life for girls a little scarier. So if you got a radio, try to tape this. Do not keep in your mind that he is a rapist. I think what he's trying to say is keep in your mind that he is not a rapist. But what he actually is saying is he is a rapist, just don't keep it in your mind. Moving on. So the album finishes off really strong with Criminal Minded, the title track. In my opinion, it's the best song on the album. And again, Chris does the classic thing he's done throughout the whole album where he says, rapping on the mic like this to me is fine, because if you really want to battle, I'll pull out a 9. He was really about that life. I completely understand why this is a classic for a few reasons. For one, songs like South Bronx and The Bridge Is Over started some of the most important rap battles in history. I can't imagine hip hop without The Bridge Is Over. And also this album is one of the foundations of gangster rap. Without this, we don't get NWA. I probably wouldn't listen to this again just because even the songs that I did like, they sound so dated. And also this album doesn't feel authentic to who he is. I could be wrong, but it just doesn't feel that way. I'm going to be doing 2 reviews a week until I run out of albums, so I hope you like this one. Thanks for watching. I would tell you to like and subscribe, but you know how YouTube works. That's it. I hope this was useful. See you next time.